Ekam aksharam hridhi nirantaram sati swayam likyate hridaya kuhara madhye kevalam brahmamatram yaham aham iti sakshat atmarupena bhati hridhi vishamanasa swam Chinvata Majjata Pavana Chalana Rudha Atmanishto Deham Brahmayavat Jadatmakam Aham Buddhirnatasyastyato Aham Tattata Bhava Shukti Samai Siddhatma Saddha Oham Bhavayuta Kuto Vadadhiya Drishtatmanishtatmana Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shivaha Purno Vibhati Swayam Soham Spurtitaya Arunachala Shivaha Purno Vibhati Swayam. Namo Ramana. In this, the Thursday satsang from Ramanacentre Center for Learning, we have been reading verses selected for us from Guruvachika Kovai. We have been reading 2 verses. Each verse reading is followed by a short meditation on its meaning, and that is followed by the practice of Atma Vicharam for 10 minutes each. After these 2 segments of verse reading, meditation on meaning, and the practice of self-enquiry are completed, there will be summing up remarks by Shri Venkatesh Deshpande ji, and that shall be followed by the offering of Sri Ramanacentre. The chanting shall be by Vaibhav ji and Prarthanama online, and the floral offerings shall be by Manjunath ji from right here. We begin this evening's satsang by going to verse number 199. We find this verse in the first segments, the first of the three segments, investigation into truth. The second segment is meditation on the truth. And the last is anubhava or experience of the truth. Verse 199, we find under the subheading, the state of Shivam, the mind in which ego defilement has perished, is Shiva Swarupa itself. The state of Shivam, the mind in which the ego defilement has perished, is Shiva Swarupa itself. Verse 199, God, the extremely subtle one, who transcends everything, is present everywhere, without any absence, as the self, the limitless Shivam. God, the extremely subtle one, who transcends everything, is present everywhere, without any absence, as the self, the limitless Shivam. If the expanded mind merges into its source and attains clarity, becoming free of defilement, it will clearly experience Shivam. If the expanded mind merges into its source and attains clarity, becoming free of defilement of the ego, it will clearly experience Shivam. So it is said in Dakshinamurti Stotram that one of the phalas of self-realization is that of Ishwaratvam. Now we'll be wondering that what kind of powers that will elicit the Ishwaratvam. As Bhagavan says, with a little bit of power itself, we have so many troubles. When all that power is given, how much more trouble will be there? Bhagavan asks in one of the places in talks. And we aspire for that power. But fortunately for us, there, God alone is. Many mistake that the Shiva Swarupa means that we will roam around saying, I am God, I am God. Aham Brahmasmi, or I am Shivam. But quite the contrary, that in that experience, since there is only God, that cannot be seen with the eyes, that cannot be proclaimed with the mouth. One has to be one with that all-permeating subtlety. In the verses of Bhagavad Gita Saram that Bhagavan has selected from the Bhagavad Gita, from chapter 13, he selects a verse where just like the space, the Akasha, because of its subtlety, it permeates everything. The scientists themselves say that when Rutherford first discovered what is the space in an electron, in an atom, and what is the space between the particles in an atom, when you go into the microscopic level, he finds that 90% of the volume of an atom is blank space, is only space. And the particles are separated from each other by that kind of distance, that the next day morning when he gets out of bed after making that discovery, it is said that he hesitates to keep his feet on the ground for the fear that the feet may go through, because so much space is there in the atoms when you look at it macroscopically, is what he finds. So, in Bhagavad Gita Saram, in the verse selected, Bhagavan points out that since the Akasha is very subtle, that it permeates everything, that even though it is present in all the other bhutas, it is not attached to any of them. It is not changed by any of them. It is not affected by any of them. Similarly, Shiva also, the Atma Swarupa also, though present in the body and is present when the body and the world undergoes these changes and modifications, but the Atma Swarupa, because of its subtlety, because of its all-permeating nature, because of its presence everywhere, it is completely untouched, completely detached from all these happenings and modifications. Though the body goes through the childhood, the youth, the middle age, old age, the self-attention never changes. The self-attention is always self-attention. And when one looks at that, it has always been the same. It is always the same. So God, the extremely subtle one who transcends everything. Tannai andri anniyam ondrum mariyar. About jnanis themselves, Bhagavan says that the jnani doesn't know anything other than the self. The non-self doesn't exist. The self-attention is so complete, is so purna. Soham spurti taya arunachala shiva purno vibhati swayam. He shines as the purna vastu, self-luminous, self-absorbed, self-living, self-existing, self-conscious, independent of every other substance. Tannai andri anniyam ondrum mariyar. If that is so with the jnanis, then how else can be the Ishvara? The Ishvara is said to have Meyaham. In Aksharamanamala, Bhagavan says the Aham of Arunachala is Meyaham. Meyaham Nadayam Tattarindenarul Arunachala. What is that Meyaham, Poyaham? Poyaham as this I, you, others. But in Meyaham, there is nothing other than the I. Because everything is He. Therefore, in his Aham, there is only I. Now that permeates everything. How does it permeate everything? See, all creation requires Triputi, requires the seer seeing seen, knower knowing known. Any world requires this triad. All the triads collapse in the self-attention. Therefore, self-attention is the supreme dimension beyond all dimensions. And it is present within. See, outside each dimension, see, outside us, there is this three-dimensional world. So, all the other higher dimensions are present only inside. Similarly, the supreme dimension of self attending to itself is also present inside us. To take another practical anubhava that we can have, the Bhagavan says, Hariyaditara Jivara Ahavarisa Guhayil Arivairami Paramatman Arunachala Ramana. Who is Arunachala Ramana? He is that Purna self-luminous self shining within the I thought. Within the I thought of everyone. But what is this I thought doing? I thought is raising, attaching itself to a body. I thought is raising, attaching itself to an identity. I am so and so. I am a father. I am a grandfather. I am a mother. I am a grandmother. I am the finance minister of this country. All those identifications, the I rises and attaches itself to. Whereas, where is that Sarvavyapi present? The Sarvavyapi is present within the I thought. That is why Bhagavan says, still the I thought. Don't allow it to move. What you have to do when other thoughts come? Arere, I have come to Jiva Bhava. So, let me withdraw the attention. For whom is this thought? Who am I? When that attention is put on the I thought is stilled. In that stillness of the I, what is shining within the I? As I, there is this possibility of being one with that. when we are stilling the I, and when the vasanas which push the I into activity are all burned, then what else can one be except that Spurana, the Purno Vibhati Swayam, Shiva Swarupam, the Atma Swarupam? What else can one be but that? If the expanded mind, see, the mind is always expanding itself, feeling that some more journeying, going and seeing something else, going and adding a bit more to our knowledge, or expanding it in other words, that is going to solve the problem. But at some point it realizes, I have been going in the wrong direction. And the Guru Kripa comes and says, get inward, get inward. All higher dimensions are present inside, not outside. Then one starts the inward journey and stills the self. The expanding mind, it goes back inward, merges into the source. There it attains the clarity because the ego does not rise there. It is free of Anava Malam. In Shaivam, it is called as Anava Malam. The defilement of ego, that is erased. The moment the defilement of ego, the I thought is erased, who else is left but Shivam? In fact, Shivam is the reality. The other things we experience are in the triads. They all become unreal in the Purno Vibhati Swaya Arunachala Shivam. So that is this verse 199, that when the expanding mind is taken back and is merged into the source, which is the same as stilling the I. In who am I? We still the I. In whence am I? We go back into the source and merge it. Either way, the self is not going to forsake us. It will accept our sadhana, it will accept our surrender and allow us to merge into it. There, one realizes that what considered all this experience as seeing seen is actually only the Shiva Swarupa. Is only the Aruna Achala Shivam. And one understands that all the toil is at an end, all defilements are at an end, and Bhagavan Arunachala Ramanan has accepted us in his ever-present embrace. And we are one with him. As many of his devotees, like Muruganar and Kohan, they write, we are one with Guru Ramana. In fact, they are expressing the stillness and merging into the source, the Spurana. And the Spurana itself becoming quiet. When nothing is asked of the Spurana quietens itself and resides or rests as Shivam, says Bhagavan. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit in practice for the next 10 minutes. Revatima, you can set the time for us. Thank you. Namo Ramana. We continue the satsang by taking up the second verse selected for us, verse 549. 549. We find this in the segment Meditation on the Truth. The subsegment is Delusion. Meditation on the Truth, Delusion, verse 549. You are aware of fragmentary knowledge through a failure to merge in the heart by inquiring what is my real nature. You are aware of fragmentary knowledge through a failure to merge in the heart by inquiring what is my real nature. Through merging with the perfection, Purna, that is your true nature, everything will become yourself with nothing existing apart from it. Through merging with the perfection, Purno Vibhati Swayam, through merging with the perfection, that is your true nature, everything will become yourself with nothing existing apart from it. Therefore, all fragmentary knowledge is erroneous. Therefore, all fragmentary knowledge is erroneous. In Aksharamanammalai, there is a verse where Bhagavan says, Neenan Arappuli Nidangali Mayamai Nindridum Nilayarul Arunachala. Let this fragmentation as you and me being apart end, and let this oneness, which is the ever-present happiness, let that state be mine, and let that eternal bliss be mine. For that you bless me, O Arunachala. Any fragmentary knowledge indicates fragmentation of Ananda, fragmentation of consciousness, fragmentation of existence. In that, if we see the answers or real happiness, there will only be disappointment. Now, how to recognize that we are in fragmentary knowledge? The Drigdrishya Viveka, it helps. Whenever we are in seeing mode, we should understand that there is fragmentary knowledge. In an earlier verse, we have seen that the one consciousness which brings in the knowledge, it splits through the five senses and brings in five apparently different kinds of knowledge to us. That is why the senses are said to be unreal, because the same stream divides into the taste, the seeing, the smell, the touch, all that, and it appears as though this experienced world has five different kinds of sensory inputs to give to us. That is why Bhagavan says, through pranayama, through observation of breath, unify all the five senses. When you observe the breath, what happens? Because breath is required as a primary source for the senses to operate. Once you observe the breath and focus the attention only on observing breath, then all that outward transmission or seeking, that becomes unified into one stream of awareness. And from there, one can go to Ekachintana. Bhagavan says in Upadesha Saram. When you observe the breath, the mind is relatively quietened into Laya. With that start the Ekachintana of who am I, which is what is mentioned in this. The moment you live what is your real nature, we get into fragmentary nature. First of all, realize that the sensory world experience is a fragmentary knowledge. We have seen earlier that even scientists have come to the understanding that this sensory input doesn't bring us real knowledge or doesn't show us the reality. It is only a computer hack kind of thing which allows the jiva, which itself is a fragmentary knowledge, to continue its jiva nature. For that, the life has given us these senses to keep the jiva alive inside the body, is the consensus that the scientists too are arriving at these days. But where does Atma Vichara take us? Any fragmentary knowledge, you are aware of fragmentary knowledge through a failure to merge in the heart by inquiring what is my real nature. Usually what we do whenever we are in trouble, whenever, let's say, in some work, the moment we feel that some success is there, something has been done well, immediately the ego will say, how nicely I have done that. How all my experience has come in play and allowed me to complete it so well. But let some fault come, let something irregular come, immediately the mind will say, who is it that is responsible for this? Did that person make mistake? Did this person make mistake? So as soon as there is a discontent, there is immediately the cause is shifted to somebody else. Now this is the whole problem of fragmentary knowledge, that our consciousness is broken up into all those segments. And why this happens, Bhagavan nails the root cause. Don't try to blame others for your unhappiness. By doing that, Bhagavan brings the problem also very near to us. We will feel, why is Bhagavan putting so much load on us? Why is he saying, for this also do Atma Vichara, for that also do Atma Vichara? Bhagavan is the kindest guru that one can come across. If one has come across Bhagavan in lifetime, then that is the final guru, because he is going to tell only one thing: turn inward, the happiness is within you. The problem is within you. If you only because you rise as the ego, all the fragmentation occurs. So what is the root problem according to Bhagavan? Root problem is not your enemy on the outside, is not your lack of finance on the outside, is not the lack of knowledge of various things you have got. The root problem is because you have risen as the first fragment, as the I thought from the source. So if you inquire who am I, through merging with that perfection. Now are we creating that perfection? The perfection is already there. Now that is the beauty of Bhagavan's teachings, that the Atma Swarupa is the reality of God. Whomever we have worshipped as God, Satyanarayana Swami, Ramana Maharishi, or Shiva, the reality of that God is also the Atma Swarupa, where we are going to go and merge. So in that there is only one self. Everything becomes merged into the self. So what is the sadhana? The moment you see another, you understand you have made the mistake of fragmenting yourself. The moment you see another, I have made the mistake of rising as a fragment. So the only solution is, who is seeing this as my daughter? Who is seeing this as my wife? Why do you call her the wife? You should ask, for whom is this thought? Who am I? If you are merged in the source, then everything is the self. Bhagavan says here, then everything will become the self. It is written as yourself. For clarification, we can say it is the self, with nothing existing apart from it. Therefore, who is the one whom you call as grandson, as granddaughter, as wife, as father, as great-grandfathers, as all the lineages that have passed away for so many janmas? Who are all that? They are all only the Atma Swarupa. Bhagavan says in Upadeshasaram, the one who has rested in the Swaswarupa, Krityamasti kim Swastitim yataha. Now all the lineages, all the earlier people in the lineage, they are not considered to be jivas, fragments moving to various lokas. To the one who is doing self-enquiry, who are they all? They are all only the self. So the duty to all the ancestors, the duty to rishis, the duty to deva, the duty to loka, everything is simultaneously fulfilled when we ask, who am I? For whom is this thought? Who am I? Because what happens to everything? Everything is the self only. Where are they all traveling? Is their brother, elder brother who has passed away 3 years back, is he traveling to some loka? No, not in self-enquiry. In self-enquiry, the reality is all the self. The duty to that brother who has passed away is done the moment you think of him as a fragment. That Girirajan passed away 2 years back. For whom is this thought? To me. Who am I? When everything is the self, can Girirajan be apart? Can you be apart? No. It is the simultaneous fulfillment of all the duties. Therefore, all fragmentary knowledge is erroneous. To think of anybody as a fragmentary existence is erroneous. Who are they? They are all Purnavastu. That is what Sri Krishna tells Arjuna. Who do you think that is standing in front of you? Do you think that is Bhishma, this is Drona, this is Kripacharya, that is Duryodhana, that is Karna? No. They are all the Swarupa, the Atma Swarupa. In fact, the Atma Swarupa is the real guide and will not stop till those jivas merge into it. So he is the real teacher. So understanding that they cannot be killed by you. Their reality cannot be taken away by you. You know what your mind tells us, dharma, do it according to one of the yogas, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, raja yoga or jnana yoga, so that winning the war is not the key thing. The yoga is the key thing and the war is performed merely as a duty in one of the yogas. So who are they? They are not the fragments that are standing in front of you. They are all the Atma Swarupis. Don't think they are the guys who are begging for 5 rupees in front of you in the signal. They are all the Atma Swarupis. Understanding that your primary duty is to hold the self, is to hold the non-fragmented self. Then doing the duty happens automatically in that Anubhava. In that Purna Vastu, the fragmentary duty automatically happens. But one's residence, one's reality is always only the Atma Swarupa, where everything is absorbed in that Atma Swarupa. This wonderful practice of self-enquiry, it brings all the duties to one place and allows us to complete and have that tripti, that all the duties that I had previously considered to be done separately, fragmentarily, to this group, this group, this group, is now unified and all of them are absorbed in the self. With Bhagavan's immense grace, let us sit and practice for the next 10 minutes. Revatima, you can help us out. Namo Ramana. May I request Venkatesh Deshpande ji to give us the summing up remarks. Namo Ramana sir.
Ramana. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Dhanamulam Gurur Muktihi, Pujamulam Gurur Padam, Mantramulam Gururvakyam, Mokshamulam Gurur Kripaha, Mokshamulam Gurur Kripaha. Ramana. Two very interesting verses for doing manana. The first one was about the mind. See, the mind, typically, what's the mind? It likes to see differences. It does not like to see similarity. How do I look different from the other person? That's the way it is. My shirt should be looking better than somebody. I should be looking a little more. If I go to Tiruvannamalai, I must put three namas, put vibhuti on my head, this way to that, and I must look like a great devotee of Bhagwan. That's all. Everybody wants to show, I want to look different. That's the way of the mind. So the trick about this is, I'll give you a couple of examples. One, say you go abroad, say you go to America. What happens? First thing, if you're going into a park, what you will see? Oh, you'll see some brown skins. Oh, they may be Indians. So what happens? There is though there are so many people. One aspect of that is reduced. That there's a commonality is seen that he's from India. That's one. Then you see some fellow looking dark like me. Then you'll say, oh, that fellow must be from South India. Oh, there's a second. Oh, fantastic. So then what happens? You feel get a sort of a nice good feeling, but you have not really got to the bottom of it. So what happens is, even when you come back home, there is a sense of, oh, you have seen something, but you're not in true happiness. You go into a forest. I don't know how many of you have gone to the forest, but throughout my life I've been to many forests. So what happens in a forest? Let's see. You go in a jeep or you go walking, and you'll see a tiger or a bison, or you see a bear that is coming on the opposite side. What happens if you're sitting in a jeep? See, in the first case, the first example I said, we are all Indians and we are all from South India and maybe even Karnataka. Oh, we have come down to a lower level. Now, then in a jeep, when the tiger comes in front of the jeep, then what happens? What do you see? Oh, I see all of us as human beings and there is an animal. So we have come down to the next subtle level of first people looking at India. We went to Karnataka and others, South India, and then you now here in the jungle you will experience a slightly more subtler level, which is the human beings. All the people who were sitting in the jeep are all human beings. The fellow that is outside the jeep is an animal. So look at Bhagwan. So what has happened? You have still not come to the self. You still see the difference between the tiger, which is an animal, and you as a human being. You have not come to the self. So in the first verse is beautifully said, like Bhagwan was established in the self. So he saw everything as the self. That's why he would go and talk to the tiger and say, don't come at this time. Because people will get scared, and goes to the devotee, tells the devotee, don't go and have bath at this time, because this is a time for animals to come to drink water. So how could he go and tell a tiger like that? Because he was that underlying substratum. He was established in that underlying substratum, which is the only truth. Everything else is a superimposition. It's not the truth. So that's why it's very important to understand this aspect of the mind. The mind will always want to trick you and say, you're a human being and this and that. But below all these bodies is the self. That if you're abiding in that self, then the everything will be seen as you only. Everything will be seen as a consciousness only. Then when the tiger comes also, it is you only. If the monkey comes also, it's you only. So Bhagwan, the monkeys to bring the young ones and keep it on Bhagwan's lap. Why? Bhagwan was not looking like a monkey. It is just that he was established in the self. That's one thing. The second verse is very interesting because he says, talks about fragmentary view. I remember my son, when he was very young, he used to love this jigsaw puzzle. Many of us have done jigsaw puzzle. I'm not sure. But it's a very funny thing that when you have a child doing jigsaw puzzle, what he or she does, he picks up each piece and looks at it this way. Some has a rounded edges, some have flat edges, some have square edges, all sort of edges with colors on that. So our experience in the world is like that, like that fragment. Each piece, say it's 1,000-piece jigsaw, then there are 1,000 fragments in that jigsaw. And what you have to do? You've got to slowly look at the picture, look at the shape, sizes, this, that, and all, and start putting them slowly together. Now, when you put it together, what happens? Wow! Then you experience that picture, whatever that picture may be. If it's fragment, imagine if the 3 pieces have not been put, and you're still struggling. Still, the picture is not complete. It's not purna. It's not full. But you find those 2-3 pieces and put them together, the picture looks full. It's no more fragment. You will not believe it that my son in his house in the US has made 2,000-piece jigsaw, and they can frame it and put it on the wall. It does not look like a jigsaw at all. It looks like a beautiful painting. So Bhagavan is trying to tell us the same thing. Stop this fragmentary living, this fragmentary thing of looking at each piece and saying this is right, wrong, this is the right place, they're not in the right place. Stop living that life. Live a life which is whole and complete. When you see the whole life, then the fragments are also not visible. That's what this jigsaw gives us, that beautiful example that if you put the fragments together, then the whole, there is absolutely no... the whole picture is visible. So this putting the jigsaw together is the self-enquiry. So as we keep on doing that, so what happens whenever mind goes out? It's a little fragment which is trying to go out. It's like pulling out one from the jigsaw puzzle, one piece, and throwing it out. No, you bring it back and put it back into the full picture. So Bhagavan is trying to say that the self-enquiry is like that. When you keep on inquiring, these fragments which are trying to take you out, you will bring that fragment back and complete this whole jigsaw puzzle that is there in our lives. So when it's whole and complete, then we are with Bhagavan. Om Namo Bhagavate Sri Ramanaya.
Namo Ramana, sir. Thank you very much.
Namo Ramana. That example was beautiful. Jigsaw puzzle.
It was very, 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 very beautiful. Very beautiful. Namo Ramana, sir.
Namo
May I
Ramana.
request Vaibhavji and Pratnama to start the chanting?
Namo Ramana. Bharatwaja Vishwanath Vidachitam Sri Ramanashtottara Shatanamavalihi Apara Satchit Tukhavari Rashe Yasyorvi Matram Bhuvanam Samastam Guhahitam Tam Ramanam Gabhiram Chintavihinam Hridishintayami Om Mahasena Mahomshena Jataya Namaha Om Sri Ramanaya Namaha Om Gurave Namaha Om Akhanda Samvidakaraya Namaha Om Mahojase Namaha Om Karanodbhavaya Namaha Om Jagadhitavatāraya Namaha Om Sri Bhuvinathasthalasthitaya Namaha Om Parasharakulottamsaya Namaha Om Sundararya Tapaphalaya Namaha Om Kamaniya Sucharitraya Namaha Om Sahayamba Sahayavate Namaha Om Shonachala Maholina Manasaya Namaha Om Swarnahastakaya Namaha Om Srimad प्रशांत महास्थले लब्ध विद्योदयाय नमः। ॐ महाशक्ति निपातेन प्रबुद्धाय नमः। ॐ परमार्थविदे नमः। ॐ तीव्राय नमः। ॐ पितृपदान्वेषिणे नमः। ॐ हिन्दुमौलिना पितृमते नमः। ॐ पितुरादेशतः शौर्णशैलं प्राप्ताय नमः। ॐ तपोमयाय नमः। ॐ उदासीनाय नमः। ॐ महायोगिने नमः। ॐ महोत्साहाय नमः। ॐ कुशाग्रदिये नमः। ॐ शान्तसङ्कल्पसंरम्भाय नमः। ॐ सुसन्दृशे नमः। ॐ सवित्रे नमः। ॐ स्थिराय नमः। ॐ तपक्षपितसर्वाङ्गाय नमः। ॐ पुल्लाम्बुजविलोचनाय नमः। ॐ चण्डिकासितः श्रीमण्डिताननमण्डलाय नमः। ॐ चूतवाक्यां समासीनाय नमः। ॐ चूर्णिताखिलविभ्रमाय नमः। ॐ वेदवेदान्ततत्त्वज्ञाय नमः। ॐ चिन्मुद्रिणे नमः। ॐ त्रिगुणातिगाय नमः। ॐ विरूपाक्षगुहावासाय नमः। ॐ विराजतशलाकृतये नमः। ॐ उद्दीप्तनयनाय नमः। ॐ पूर्णाय नमः। ॐ रुचिताचलताण्डवाय नमः। ॐ गम्भीराय नमः। ॐ परमाचार्याय नमः। ॐ सुप्रसन्नाय नमः। ॐ अभयप्रदाय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणास्यनिभाय नमः। ॐ धीराय नमः। ॐ दक्षिणाभिमुखाय नमः। ॐ स्वराजे नमः। ॐ महर्षये नमः। ॐ भगवते नमः। ॐ ईड्याय नमः। ॐ भूमविद्याविशारदाय नमः। ॐ विमलाय नमः। ॐ दीर्घदर्शिने नमः। ॐ आप्ताय नमः। ॐ ऋजुमार्गप्रदर्शकाय नमः। ॐ समदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्यदृशे नमः। ॐ सत्याय नमः। ॐ प्रशान्ताय नमः। ॐ अमितविक्रमाय नमः। ॐ सुकुमाराय नमः। ॐ सदानन्दाय नमः। ॐ मृदुभाषिणे नमः। ॐ दयार्णवाय नमः। ॐ श्रीशोणाचलऋद्बोधस्कन्दाश्रमनिकेतनाय नमः। ॐ सद्दर्शनोपदेष्ट्रे नमः। ॐ सद्भक्तवृन्दपरिवृताय नमः। ॐ गणेशमुनिभृङ्गेन सेविताङ्घ्रिसरोरुहाय नमः। ॐ गीतोपदेशसारादिग्रन्थसञ्चिन्न संशयाय नमः। ॐ वर्णाश्रममतातीताय नमः। ॐ रसज्ञाय नमः। ॐ सौम्याय नमः। ॐ आत्मवते नमः। ॐ सर्वावनिमतस्थानाम् आराध्याय नमः। ॐ सर्वसद्गुणिने नमः। ॐ आत्मारामाय नमः। ॐ महाभागाय नमः। ॐ मातृमुक्तिविधायकाय नमः। ॐ विनताय नमः। ॐ विनुताय नमः। ॐ विप्राय नमः। ॐ मुनीन्द्राय नमः। ॐ पावकोज्ज्वलाय नमः। ॐ दर्शनागतसंहारिणे नमः। ॐ मौनेन स्वात्मबोधकाय नमः। ॐ मृच्छान्तिकरसान्निध्याय नमः। ॐ स्मरणाद्बन्धमोचकाय नमः। ॐ अन्तस्तिमिरचण्डांशवे नमः। ॐ संसारार्णवतारकाय नमः। ॐ षोडादृशस्तुतिद्रष्टे नमः। ॐ हार्दविद्याप्रकाशकाय नमः। ॐ अविच्युतनिजप्रज्ञाय नमः। ॐ नैसर्गिकमहातपसे नमः। ॐ कमण्डलुधराय नमः। ॐ शुभकौपीनवसनाय नमः। ॐ गुहा ॐकाराय नमः ॐ दण्डपाणये नमः ॐ कृपापूर्णाय नमः ॐ भवरोगविषग्वराय नमः ॐ स्कन्दाय नमः ॐ देवतमाय नमः ॐ अमर्त्याय नमः ॐ सेनान्ये नमः ॐ पुरुषोत्तमाय नमः ॐ श्रीरमण भगवते नमः श्रीरमणाशोत्तरशतनाम पूजां समर्पयामि यस्थानोररुणाचलस्य तदयोः स्मृत्याजनिं सप्तुत दिव्यानुग्रह सुप्रवाह विवशा स्थावरत्नभावं गतः ऋन्निष्ठस्वरवीरनित्यतपसा लोकान् पुनास्येकराट् तस्मै श्रीरमणाय ते नमः लोकोत्तर ज्योतिषे ॐ नमो भगवते श्रीरमणाय
नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव महर्षि नमो महर्षि दर्शन सुख मंगल मुख सकल जीवहित सम्मुख ब्रह्म संज्ञे सदा तुष्ट सदा हृष्ट सदा शिवानंद पुष्ट परम महर्षि ब्रह्मनिष्ठ समदर्शी नमो 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 रमण सदाशिव प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि नमो महर्षि ನಮ್ಮ ಮನವದೊಂದು ಕಾಡು ನೀನರಿತಿಹೆ ಅದರ ಜಾಡು ಹಿತವನರಿತು ನೀಡುತ್ತೆ ಕೊರೆಯ ತಣಿಸಲೈ ಬೇಡಲೆಂದು ಬಂದ ನಾವು ನೋಡಿಯೇ ತಣಿವೆವಯ್ಯ ಮೋಡಿಗಾರನೇ ಹಿತವ ನುಡಿದು ಕೊರೆ ನಮ್ಮನು ಬ್ರಹ್ಮ ಸಂಘಿಯೇ ನಮೋ 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 ರಮಣ ಸದಾಶಿವ प्रभावरण नमो महर्षि बोलो भगवान श्री रमण महर्षि की जय।
ನಮೋ ರಮಣ ಅಕ್ಕ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮೋ ರಮಣ
ನಮೋ ರಮಣ